Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chaotic Tavern. I'm your bartender, Dan, and I've got a story to share with you. Well, folks, I did it. I finally did it. I made a video that wasn't Dungeons & Dragons. The sky should hit terminal velocity any second now. Seriously, though, that vampire story was great. A breath of fresh air. Anyway, I guess I ought to get back to the grind.
Hey Dan.
Oh, you're still here. I'm not gonna lie, Mick, I thought you were some sort of sleep paralysis demon I made up after drinking too many rounds of Guinness.
No sir, I'm real. As real as any other cartoon box. I was wondering, if you liked reading that Vampire the Masquerade story so much, why don't you read some others? There's gotta be someone out there willing to talk about their experience with another game.
Huh. You know, you might be onto something, Mick.
Oh, yeah, I'm on your counter. That's what this is, this big wooden thing. It's called a counter.
I meant you have a point, Mick.
Oh, no sir, the top of my lid is round. It's all curved, see?
So anyway, yeah, this story is about Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is, without a doubt, my favorite TTRPG system, no contest. It's also the only system that I've ever run multiple full-length campaigns to completion in. You see, while I do love tabletop RPGs like D&D, I mostly love them because it's a great excuse to get a group of friends together to roleplay. Trust me, if you think I play 5e because I think the combat is great, I've got a solid gold bridge in Nigeria to sell you. No, combat is almost always my least favorite component of most game systems, and while D&D has rules for role-playing, a lot of the time they feel like an afterthought. Call of Cthulhu, however, is a very different story. As a system, Cthulhu has one of the best combat systems I've ever seen, which is hilarious because 99% of the time, you really don't want to be in a situation where you need to use it. Players can die at the drop of a hat in that system, and the rules are written with that in mind. It is a roleplay-heavy investigative horror game, after all. So the systems and mechanics in place for social situations and interacting with the world are very satisfying to use. However, my dear patrons, I have to admit, I've never read an RPG horror story about the system. So screw it, we're gonna fix that. Today's story is a tale of two terrors. A game master who could not give less of a crap about the story he's telling, and a problem player who can't help but climb the ranks of the that guy scale. This story is titled, I'm About to Get Into a Bout of Madness, Call of Cthulhu by JagJagman. TLDR at the end. We're a table of 5, including the DM. A detective, a lawyer, a biologist, and me. A pretty weak but wealthy aristocrat. I'm new to TTRPGs and can get really awkward when meeting new people, so I tried to find a place to play online. I found a Discord server, and everything seemed okay. I joined 3 games organized by the admins. The experience has been great in 2 of them, but my only nightmare started in the Call of Cthulhu game. I'm a huge fan of Lovecraft's work, and when I found out there was a TTRPG based on his world, I got hooked. Session 0 was fine. I made my character for my keeper's homebrew story. I wanted to play as a detective or police officer, but since those roles were already taken, I chose a completely different route. I picked the aristocrat occupation, and built my character as a highly charismatic lord. My stats were pretty bad: low strength, even lower dexterity, poor constitution and size. Everything was low except for intelligence and education. I was given the option to re-roll, but I decided to play the hand I was dealt. That's the main reason I chose to play a rich aristocrat with a silver spoon in his mouth. To support the group, I made him an expert in archaeology, as he had been financially sponsoring excavations in Egypt. The keeper allowed it, and even gave me 90 credit rating points, considering my character was practically a useless piece of charismatic meat with nothing but money and charm to offer. The story is set in London around 1935. A new Egyptian exhibition is about to open, but a few mysterious disappearances have taken place. So, I need to jump in here real quick. Something about Call of Cthulhu as a system that I love is there's no such thing as a useless character. You can roll the most absolute garbage stats possible and you can still be pretty useful to your party. Cthulhu uses a skill point system, and the game gives you a lot of them. Like a whole lot. Even if you're the most frail, weak, and mentally impaired living being on the planet, you can still kill a man if you've put enough points in firearms. Or someone who is unbelievably ugly can still be good at persuading folks if they've dedicated enough time to developing a good personality through their charm skills. Some characters are better than others, but I've never seen one I'd describe as worthless. Truth be told, one of my favorite characters fits this description. I was a doctor of medicine who worked in the local loony bin, and I only had 2 good stats: intelligence and education. Otherwise, I was average at best in most things and garbage at worst. But that didn't keep me from being a key member of the party. Sure, my skill with a pistol sucked, and I was dog shit in a fight, but if you got hurt, I'd have you patched up and on the road to recovery in no time. And since it was the 1920s, I had a very strong knowledge of chemistry since I was making my own drug cocktails for my patients. Or in some cases, IEDs for eldritch horrors. Remember kids, it's not a war crime to use chemical weapons on the spawn of Cthulhu. It's actually a moral obligation. And it's fun and cool. In the first session, we arrived at the scene and soon found out that someone had been killed the night before. By someone, or something. Almost every NPC we met was a hostile police officer. The only one who managed to convince them to let us into the investigation was the lawyer, in what I can only describe as a personal battle between the player and the keeper, played through the lawyer's character and the keeper's NPCs. I had no problem with the NPCs being hostile. I get it. It adds tension. What really felt unnecessary, though, was the constant mockery towards our characters. A behavior that would repeat constantly through almost every NPC. We started investigating, with the occasional ridicule thrown at us, and eventually made it to the victim's office. Up until that point, I had been trying to let every uncomfortable moment slide, but things went downhill fast. The biologist, now the lawyer's personal buffoon, rolled a fumble while trying to search the victim's diary, and ended up throwing a book through the window. The keeper revealed that the book was, in fact, the diary. The lawyer, who was part of the problem in this story, got angry with the biologist, then proceeded to command him to go retrieve the diary. At that moment, I realized the keeper did it without any consequence in mind. It was just a joke. But the lawyer didn't want to let it go. Even though the keeper told him it would be really hard to find the book, he dragged all of us outside to look for the diary. The biologist found it, and then, in what felt like another desperate attempt to stop us from retrieving it, the keeper told us the diary had fallen into the mud and now was hard to read. The lawyer suggested we wait for it to dry, but then the keeper made an NPC appear out of nowhere and steal the diary right from the biologist's hands. Once again, the lawyer got annoyed at the biologist. He has the highest stats out of all of us, even the credit rating. So I don't know if his sense of superiority comes from that, or if he's just naturally like that. He made all of us chase the man. Seeing that he was going to escape, the lawyer drew his weapon and fired. All while we were still getting close to the guy, with no thought of consequences whatsoever. The fleeing man drew his weapon too and fired back. My character got shot, and so did the biologist. In the end, the lawyer caught the man, but once again, out of nowhere, a car appeared. The mysterious man threw the diary inside the car, and then swallowed a cyanide pill. That was the end of the first session. The second session was more of the same. The police were still hostile, the mockery didn't stop, but at least we got to meet the fourth player. A playboy and alcoholic ex-police detective. Things calmed down a little during this session, and it gave me hope that maybe things weren't so bad after all. But oh man, I was wrong.
Hey, Dan. You okay there, bud?
Oh yeah, fine. Totally fine. Definitely not frothing with rage.
Well, Dan, I mean, this all sounds kinda dumb, but I don't think it's anything worth getting worked up over. I mean, a lot worse has happened in some of these stories.
Yeah, but this hits close to home for me. Tell you what, I'm gonna tell you a story within this story. I had a DM who would do this type of stuff constantly. If he had it set in his mind that something was going to go a certain way, then the laws of reality would bend to make damn sure it happened. Abandon his DM PC that he's thrust upon us, he magically teleports to us somehow and is also actually godlike in power, so we can't remove him by force. Players want to go somewhere wild and crazy that he didn't plan for, like, the general store. Whole goddamn shop is just a pile of burning rubble for some reason. Party jumps a powerful enemy that we were supposed to avoid and start kicking the shit out of him. He magically teleports to safety. Now, with regards to the whole diary thing, I think it's a little different. My guess is the diary was meant to be a throwaway gag that didn't serve any real importance, and the keeper was just trying to move the scene along. But there comes a point when it's acceptable for you as the game master to go, dude, it's a worthless book that's there for a gag, calm down. Breaking immersion sucks, but it can save your players an hour of their lives chasing something you never meant for them to chase. As for Lawyer needs to do us all a favor and hunt down the biggest, zestiest bag of dicks he can find and go ahead and just eat every last one of them. There's something to be said about the role of a leader in an RPG party. Sometimes there is one, sometimes there isn't. Usually everyone's better off with the latter. A group leader can be a force for good at the table if they're handled correctly. A player whose role it is to inspire his party members, offer words of encouragement and guidance. But that would require that the player is something other than a Dorito-dusted undesirable that just crawled out of the bowels of Reddit. And at the D&D table, there isn't exactly a surplus of people who fit that bill. When someone at the table is forcing others to play a certain way, there's a few things that can be done to resolve this. The party can collectively interject and tell him to knock it off, or the keeper can pull him aside and ask him to dial it back. But, well, this is an RPG horror story. You think we're gonna see any of that happen here? We got to the last session, where my frustration reached a new peak. My character, as I said before, is a rich lord with almost every charisma-related skill above 75. And guess what? So far, I haven't been able to use a single one of them. On my character sheet, I included a mansion and a butler, both approved by the keeper. In session 2, we went to the police station to interrogate a suspect. After that, we needed a place to gather information and rest. I offered my mansion, and now I regret it. I had imagined it as something beautiful. Considering my credit rating is 90, I thought it made perfect sense. But no, the keeper described it as an old, dusty place in terrible shape, as if no one had taken care of it for years. And he kept going on and on about how awful it was. In the treasured possessions section of my sheet, I had selected my grandfather's art collection, but now I was told that most of it had already been sold. I just couldn't believe it. So now, instead of being a rich aristocrat, my character was being portrayed as some petty guy with nothing but a hollow title. I really didn't love that direction, but I played along. Seeing how they kept painting my character as a self-absorbed snob with no empathy, I eventually gave in. I became what they wanted me to be, which I'm not proud of. But now that my character was finally allowed to speak and play more than in the last 2 sessions, I gave them what they expected. I played the asshole. At some point, the lawyer asked if we could talk somewhere private, so we went to the wine cellar. The lawyer kept mocking the biologist while the rest of us just stood there, watching him act like the main character. Then someone fumbled, I don't even remember who, and suddenly, we were all drunk on wine. We were checking the papers and clues we'd gathered from the scene. On the way to the mansion, we'd kept looking behind us since the lawyer was paranoid after the museum incident. The keeper said no one was following us. And then, once again, out of nowhere, a man with a gun appeared at the entrance of the wine cellar. I was drunk, lying on the floor, unarmed. We all were, except the lawyer, who, with his main character syndrome, proceeded to draw his weapon and encourage the biologist and the detective to do the same. My character had no weapon, and no skill to use one anyway, so I just played it as a drunk man, laughing and not believing what he was witnessing. They all fired. They all missed. The keeper had given them penalty dice for being drunk. The biologist rolled a fumble, and then the keeper rolled a die to see who would take the ricochet damage. And once again, my character got shot. And just to make it even more ridiculous, the bullet landed in my ass cheek. I had done nothing in that whole fight, and apparently that wasn't okay in the eyes of the lawyer, and surprise, surprise, the one who started the shootout ended up getting killed. The player started talking trash about my character for doing nothing, even though I tried to explain that I literally had no options. I had no weapon, no combat skills, and very low HP due to my poor characteristics. Still, he kept going on about how his next character would try to kill me or make me pay for it. The session ended with everyone injured and the lawyer dead. The keeper told the player to bring a new PC for the next session. Today is the 4th session, and depending on what happens tonight, I'll probably leave the table. I genuinely want to know if I'm the asshole here, or if there's something I could have done differently to make this better, but right now, all I feel is frustration. If things get worse tonight, I'll probably post an update. The sad part is, I love the Call of Cthulhu system. I fell in love with it right away. While all of this was happening, I even started running a one-shot myself, and after reading both the Investigator's Handbook and the Keeper's Guide, I can confidently say my keeper hasn't really been doing a good job. Bad decisions, disregard for the rules, and very little care for the player experience. TLDR, I joined a Call of Cthulhu game online and created a charismatic aristocrat with a rich backstory. Despite building him around social skills and narrative value, the keeper constantly mocked my character, ignored my role, and rewrote my background. Another player dominated the spotlight and disrespected me in and out of character. After several frustrating sessions where I couldn't meaningfully contribute, and even got shot in the ass while doing nothing, I'm questioning whether to keep playing, even though I genuinely love the system. Hey OP, it's your friend, Dan. I have a proposal for you. Clear the corn out of your ears real quick and listen closely, okay? This is a complicated idea, so you're gonna need to put your thinking cap on. You ready? Leave, you sorry bastard, leave! This situation is unsalvageable in every sense of the word. You've got a keeper who is apathetic at best and antagonistic at worst. Your character's whole background and story was stripped away from you and thrown into the gutter because reasons, I guess. And the #1 center stage player is an unlikable prick whose sole talent is fitting his entire head up his own ass. The expression, no D&D is better than bad D&D, is one that gets thrown around a lot, and no one seems to understand that it's a fact of life. It's like Isaac Newton's 8th law or something, and that applies to other TTRPGs as well. I won't lie, reading this made me kind of sad. I love Call of Cthulhu, and I share it with people every chance I get. But sometimes, the eldritch entities aren't the only horror you'll find at the table. Sometimes you'll find people like the ones in this story. In any case, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like and a comment down below. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all for another round here in the Chaotic Tavern.